College sports have seen some wild scandals over the years, just like this one, but few have ever removed a national championship from history. The 2013 Louisville Cardinals were something else. They had everything: a Hall of Fame coach in Rick Pitino, a defensive juggernaut of a team, and a season to never forget when they cut down the Final Four nets in Atlanta. But today, if you check the official NCAA records, their championship doesn't exist. Now, why is that? Well, because Louisville didn't just sell their recruits with playing time or an NBA future. They used some outside sources to seal the deal. In one of the most shocking recruiting scandals in NCAA history, Louisville had its entire 2013 Natty wiped away for something that had nothing to do with basketball. Watch till the end and you'll find out how a stripper took away Rick Pitino's banner. If you don't know who I am, I've been making banger videos all March long. Make sure to subscribe so you never miss out on another. Before we get to the controversy, we have to talk about how good Louisville was in 2013 and how much of a powerhouse Rick Pitino built before it all came crashing down. By this point in his career, he was a coaching legend. He had a national championship with Kentucky in '96, and he also took two different schools to the Final Fours, and he was one of the greatest recruiters we'd seen with X's and O's at the next level. In 2013, Louisville had one of the best teams in the country. They had everything you wanted: depth, star power, defense, and experience. They had guys like Russ Smith. They had Luke Hancock, Montrezl Harrell, a future NBA big man who was just a freshman. Their defense would suffocate teams and they could score at a high clip too. Pitino had taken Louisville from a decent program to a great one when he took over in 2001. Only a few seasons later, in 2005, he led the Cardinals to a Final Four, but there was only one thing the team was missing. It was a title, and 2013 was the year that everything clicked. The Cardinals entered the season ranked 2 in the country, which made sense because they made the Final Four in the previous year, and they were a favorite to win the Natty. The early season had its bumps, though. They lost to Duke in November at the Battle for Atlantis and took another L to Syracuse in January. Now, both of these teams were top 10, so it wasn't the end of the world. However, following the Syracuse game, they lost 2 more in a row against unranked Villanova and Georgetown, dropping them from 1 in the polls to 12. This was all the adversity and fuel they needed for the rest of the year, because from that point forward, they became one of the most dominant teams in the nation. They got 10 straight wins to finish the regular season, then stormed through the Big East tournament, crushing Syracuse 78-61 in the title game. By the time Selection Sunday rolled around, Louisville was the undisputed #1 overall seed. Pitino's squad was first in the nation in defensive efficiency, allowing just 87.9 points per 100 possessions, which was one of the most dominant defenses of the decade. And instead of choking like we've seen before from other #1 overall seeds, the Cardinals played up to the name because they destroyed everyone. Round of 64, they routed North Carolina A&T. I mean, easy work. It's a 16 seed, 79-48. But in the round of 32, they faced a very good Colorado State team, forced them to turn the ball over 19 times, and won 82-56. In the Sweet 16, the Cardinals faced a number 12 seeded Oregon, which felt like they had some Cinderella magic in the making, but Russ Smith took the game over. He dropped 31, and they got the job done. The Elite 8 game versus Duke was mostly overshadowed by that disgusting Kevin Ware leg injury, but they rallied around him and won the game by over 20. They punched their ticket to the Final Four. At this point, Louisville had won 4 tournament games by an average margin of 21 points. They were playing at an all-time elite level of basketball. Louisville found themselves in trouble against a Final Four Cinderella Wichita State team, and I already made a video about the Shockers 2013 run. Check that out after you watch this one. But the Cardinals were trailing by 12 points in the second half until Luke Hancock hit back-to-back threes to spark a comeback, and they escaped with a 72-68 win to go to the Natty. Wolverines, Cardinals for all the glory. And like the last game, it was close in the first half. Trey Burke put on an absolute show for Michigan, dominating in the first, but Luke Hancock once again responded, this time with 4 straight threes, flipping the game in Louisville's favor. and they win 82-76. This was Rick Pitino's masterpiece, but just 5 years later, the NCAA erased it all. In 2015, a bombshell report dropped that would change college hoops forever. A woman named Katina Powell, a former escort, released a book called Breaking Cardinal Rules. In said book, she claimed that from years 2010 to 2014, Louisville was providing strippers and escorts to recruits and players during their campus visits, which started with Powell and her co-workers. Dancers were hired to perform in student dorms and do special favors, you know exactly what I mean, which were allegedly exchanged to convince recruits to commit to the Cardinals. Powell said this, quote, "I felt like I was a part of the recruitment team. A lot of them players went to Louisville because of me," end quote. Really? It was that good? It was that good that you're taking credit for, you know what? I'm not that type of channel. I'm not going to dive into all that. We're just going to proceed with the story. This whole thing was a system. And funny enough, Andre McGee, who was the Louisville director of basketball operations, that is wild, was the ringleader of everything. He set up these quote-unquote entertainment visits. I'm going to dive into some crazy details from the book because why not? But first, I'm going to put you guys on some game. Let me tell you about an app that I've been using called Kalshi.com, the only place where you can bet on March Madness in all 50 states. Kalshi is the first and only legal prediction market where you can bet on real world events such as who wins an election, who wins the Grammy, Bitcoin, sports, anything you want. So let's take a look at what we got. We have men's games, we have women's games, we have who's moving on to the next round and individuals. So Michigan State versus Ole Miss. You see Ole Miss there with 38 cents. If they had 50 cents, that means you double your money if they win, meaning if you put in 100, you would get 200. But as you can see, they have 38 cents. So if you want to roll with the underdog, you're going to get more for that pick. Hotty toddy, let's say I want to pick Ole Miss. You can click on it right here. You move down, you see what the market's doing, and bang, you see your prices. Go out and try it. Once again, Kalshi has markets on almost everything. They have over 1 million users in 50 different states, plus they facilitated over $1 billion worth of trades. The only place where you can bet on March Madness in all 50 states, so put your money where your mouth is. Go click on the link in the description below, and the first 500 traders that trade 100 contracts get a $10 credit. Bang! Individual payments for the freaky sesh between a player and a dancer were $100 to $120, and I personally have never tried this, so I don't know if this is a good deal or not. Let me know in the comments. When it was all said and done, $10,000 in cash was exchanged between McGee and Powell, plus her fellow dancers, for these services. Multiple photos of the records actually exist, and wow, apparently Montrezl Harrell was posted up in a few photos. It gets even worse. Powell's 3 daughters were also involved in this escort business with Louisville. The downfall of this business was when Powell got upset that McGee requested white escorts, which marked the beginning of her turn against the program. It all went downhill from there until the news got out. And as for Rick Pitino, he denied knowing anything. He swore up and down that he had no idea this was happening under his watch. But the NCAA did not care. As the investigation grew, Louisville took immediate action, choosing to self-impose a postseason ban for the 2015-2016 season. And this decision, made before the NCAA even issued its final ruling, meant that many innocent players who had nothing to do with the scandal were now paying the price. Even Katina Powell, the woman who made this happen, felt bad. Now, how ironic. When speaking about the 2016 Louisville team, she said, quote, "They did nothing. They had nothing to do with this whatsoever. And it seems like it comes down on me because they can't play in the tournament," end quote. But then 2 years later, after the late 2017 firing of Rick Pitino, the NCAA dropped the ultimate hammer. It was made official in early 2018 that Louisville's 2013 national championship, along with all of its wins, yes, all of its wins from 2011 to 2015, were vacated. For the first time in history, a D1 men's basketball national champion was completely erased from the record books. Gone forever, Aaron Hernandez, and Louisville fans, like you would expect, were absolutely livid. Many argued that the punishment didn't punish the people responsible, like Andre McGee, who did move on to coach Missouri Kansas City in 2014. It instead punished everyone else. Now, Louisville fought the NCAA for months trying to appeal the ruling. They threw every argument at the wall. The players still won those games. Other programs have done worse. You can't just erase history, but no one listened. Coach Pitino said, quote, "I don't understand how you punish a team that won every game fair and square. They beat everyone in front of them. They deserved to win," end quote. And just like that, one of the greatest moments in Louisville basketball history was erased. My question for you, should Louisville's championship still count? Let me know in the comments below. I've been Saturday Shenanigans, your home for awesome college sports content, and I'll see you guys soon.